A little bit of chatter from somebody in the background there.
We're live, by the way.
Alright, cool. Folks, we are live, and this is Retro Reload. I'm your host, Dash B, but I am not alone, and I'm not your only host. With me, I also have the fabulous Elizabeth, also known as Miss Hedgehog, and I also have the wonderful Jeremy, also known as Red Bearded Gamer, also known as Fighter Pilot, also known as that weird dude that once stole my bag of Cheetos. Okay, one of those nicknames might have been made up.
Morning, evening, America. How's everyone tonight?
I think they said they're fabulous, but stay away from their Cheetos.
Oh, I love Cheetos.
I like Cheetos too, but like Cheetos and Doritos both have the same problem, and that problem is fingers. Unless there's some trick to eating them that I'm not aware of.
Now.
Two?
Yes, we're missing two people. We're missing two people. Would you like to say what happened to them?
Yes, we'd like to have a moment of silence for Cliff, Southern Star Gamer, and for Tyler, also known as T. Pugmire. They both lost a bet to Jeremy, and so their punishment as part of losing this bet is that they're not allowed to be on tonight's show. Instead, they have to join our one Canadian viewer in watching the show live, and they are powerless to interact with us.
Exactly.
Yes. So the lesson here is don't make wagers with Red Bearded Gamer unless you are ready to pay.
Mm-hmm.
True story. Moving on to the news. Actually, we've got quite a bit of news today. One of the things that I wanted to bring up was that the PlayStation VR, they announced on their Twitter feed that it'll be coming out, launching in October for about $400. What do you guys think of that?
Oh my gosh, that's going to be a problem for me because it's Sonic's 25th anniversary. Guess where all my money's going? To Sonic!
Now,
so that's going to have to wait.
So what would you think of, like, do you think Sonic could work in VR, or do you think it'd just be motion sickness city?
That depends. Yeah. I think that would also depend who's making the game, because I love my Sonic, but I think I might freak out if, like, he jumps off a cliff and does twisty turn or something. I might be like, ah! Okay, I don't want to play the game anymore.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, like, it might actually work out well with something like Generations. Not necessarily for the side-scrolling modes, but maybe for the modes where it was more like a race mode.
Mm-hmm.
So that actually might work out pretty well. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on VR and all that stuff?
Well, now we have three prices on VR. If you know what, PlayStation's $399, the HTC Vive is $800, and Oculus Rift's at $599.
Oh.
I'm excited for VR, but I'm not going to be the guy who buys into the first generation. I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you. I'm glad that you mentioned prices, though, because what's interesting is that I think this will be the first endeavor where Sony's actually come in as the cheapest option.
Yeah, that is true, because I thought Oculus Rift was ridiculous, and I saw the HTC Vive. I was like, oh crap! I was like, PlayStation's really got to lower price to get people interested.
Yeah, so I'm with you, though. I do not intend to. I'm with both you and Elizabeth. Like, there's too much other things that my money's going to be tied up in this year. I do not plan to be an early adopter of VR because, I mean, there's been plenty of attempts at things like this before. I was an early adopter of 3D on the PlayStation, and to be clear, I actually loved 3D gaming on the television. The only thing I didn't love about it is that there were not enough games supporting it, and I was kind of bummed to see that when PlayStation 4 came out and it has so much more horsepower, that it didn't lend to more 3D games. They just kind of like, okay, we tried it, we don't like it, and we're moving on. So in that case, you know, I actually bought, I paid the extra money to get a 3D television instead of like a normal television. Not for movies, because I actually hate 3D movies, but mainly for 3D games. But and the handful that have come out have been fantastic. In fact, Sonic Generations, which I mentioned earlier, is actually 3D TV compatible.
Ooh, I remember that.
Yeah, it works pretty well. Also, Doom, that Doom 3 that came out for the PlayStation 3 was 3D compatible. Handful of other games, Super Stardust HD, a lot of games that supported Shadow of the Colossus. But then there were a lot of games that that didn't, the Call of Duties and that kind of stuff. So it was kind of a shame to see some of the games that could have made the best use of 3D not even bother. I don't know if it was because of the limitations with not being able to get the frame rate, keep the frame rate where they need it, or what. But I know they're talking about launching with something like 30 games that are going to be compatible with the VR. But I mean, what does that mean? I mean, it's a screen I put on my face, so as long as I can still see the screen while it's attached to my face, it's compatible. Like,
well, one of them is Ace Combat, which I'm excited for. You see that one happen.
You're saying you won't be an early adopter, but if Ace Combat is one of the compatible titles,
I might be an early adopter.
Oh man, I will say this: whichever one of us does get it first, has to record themselves like playing a game. Like I don't want to see the actual. I don't care about seeing the actual game they're playing. I just want video of the person like.
Oh, bleh. I
Yeah.
can't play Sonic. Oh.
Oh man, yeah, like the PlayStation VR, like the Sonic Edition comes with a free bucket that you can put around your neck, just there in case you.
That's the pre-order specials. A few buckets.
Yeah. If you need to Technicolor yawn, right into the bucket.
There you go. And then have a little bell to call your mom. Mommy, I need a 10 red bucket.
Nurse. You hit the call button. Nurse, please clean up on aisle 4. So, but that wasn't the only thing. There's Microsoft had some announcements too, right, Jeremy?
Yes, there's a couple. The first one is Microsoft will allow Xbox games to play against PS4 and PC players. So what do they call it? Cross-platform or cross. You can play Call of Duty pretty much against your Xbox friends and play games.
Now that's kind of neat. Like I do have an Xbox One, and what's always interesting for me with a game like Star Wars Battlefront, for example, I have it on the PC and I have it on PlayStation 4. But one of the problems is that if I got a friend that has the Xbox One edition, it's like, well, how many copies of this game do I need to have? And then not even copies of the game, it's like your progress doesn't carry over from one to the other, right? So you can spend all this time leveling up, getting the weapons, unlocking all this stuff, and then you go on the other platform and you have to start all over again, which, I mean, I like the game, but I don't like to waste my time, so doing the same thing over and over, but I've played Mario a million times, so I guess I'm just a walking contradiction. Never mind. So, what are your thoughts on that, though, Elizabeth? Do you think it's a good thing that Microsoft is opening up to gaming, or do you think this is them admitting, like, nobody's using our platform? If you're on Xbox One, you're playing alone.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think it is that, because I hear more positive for PS4. Lately, I've heard all those complaints about the Xbox. I think this is just Xbox way of saying, oh, well, we want to work with the PS now and come and play with us now. It's like, no, I don't want to play with you.
We already heard where Miss Hedgehog and where T. Pugmire stand on the Xbox. Do you remember that, Jeremy? Yeah, Jeremy doesn't want to comment on that, so we're just going to go ahead and move.
Sorry about that.
No, that's totally okay.
What's the question?
The question was, you remember how T. Pugmire and Ms. Hedgehog feel about Microsoft, right, from last show?
Not a fan, if I remember right.
They don't care. They don't give a crap about Microsoft, they said.
Well, all this talk, I've seen a lot of talk lately saying this will be the last generation of console for Xbox One. I keep hearing people say this. It's even on talk on BG Collect.
I could actually believe that, and Cliff also has a theory that which I wish he was able to be on the show tonight because he could expound on it a bit more. Because I think his theory has some, at least it's worth some thought. That maybe Nintendo might go the same way, where Nintendo might just say, look, consoles we're kind of done for a while. I don't know about forever, but it's definitely not unless you're Sony right now. It doesn't seem to be like a healthy climate for consoles.
It's just that it seems like everything's going mobile. I mean, everyone's always on their phone, so that would make sense. Yeah.
Now, what the shame about that is that, although I'm always on the phone, and I know I'm not in the majority, right? But I'm not really gaming on the phone, mainly because the kind of games that can play on the phone are not really fun and engaging to me. So I'll be, usually I have my phone in one pocket and the 3DS in the other.
Well,
and when I want to get my game on, I get the 3DS.
maybe that's what Nintendo will focus on just like a 3DS, mobile, maybe the same thing for like the games on the iPad, because people want to have it with them. Mostly is what I see. You want to be able to carry a small thing with you. You don't want to leave it at home.
Yeah.
It's not the same like back in our days when you had your friends over and you all played on the Nintendo with all 4 controllers, like the old TMT arcade game. You had all 4.
Yeah.
It's not the same anymore.
Yeah, TMT the arcade game, my favorite arcade game of all time. If you guys check out Our Parents' Basement, I'll put in a plug for them now. I don't know if he's going to show it in the area where he films or not, but I know that Turf recently picked up a TMNT arcade machine. So
Yes, 2 days ago, I think.
yeah, I better get an invite to come over and play that sometime. I know that it would require a flight to Arkansas, but darn it, we could figure out a way to make it happen.
You should definitely see a friend of mine here in Denton, Texas, I believe. He has a huge, massive cave of Sega and Nintendo stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
arcade stuff or console stuff?
Everything. Posters, plushies, Sonic toys. Like, he puts me to shame, but it's like, I don't care. He's been collecting since back in the early 90s.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, he's got I invited him to come here on the show one day, so one day he will. And then he can show us and take pictures and talk about it.
Yes, and someday Xbox One players will be able to play games with him, even if it's not on a Microsoft console. So they got that to look forward to. Another news item that came to my attention was that I guess there had been some rumors that there was going to be like a Portal movie, right? Portal and Half-Life, like short films and that kind of thing. And what's interesting is that I guess this is more than rumor. Like, this is actually like really going to happen. JJ Abrams actually spoke to IGN, and he was asked to give an update on the 2 films, and his reply was not, "Oh, we're not working it. Oh, it's a rumor." It wasn't even, "I can't talk about that." His reply was actually, "They're in development. They've got writers, and we're working on both those stories, but there's nothing that would be an exciting update." So on the one hand, he said, okay, it's still too soon for us to really say anything like it's just around the corner or whatever. But he didn't, he basically admitted, yes, we're working on it. So I thought that was really neat. What do you guys think of, fan of Portal and Half-Life or not? What are your thoughts on, JJ Abrams produced movies in these universes?
I never heard of it. No comment.
Wow. You know what? I'll give you a pass on that one because Sonic has nothing to do with Portal or Half-Life. But I know Jeremy's heard of both of these. What are your thoughts, Jeremy? You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, sirens were going by. My areas.
Well, you just need to stop stealing people's Cheetos, and then the cops won't come after you.
Yeah, dude.
I'm sticking hospital down. She needs to shut it down. Fine. Don't shut down the hospital for my selfish reasons. But I'm happy. I'd like to see more gaming-related stuff coming out on movies because if Nintendo Stadia is successful, we might get movies out of Nintendo finally.
Ooh.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that is true. That is definitely very.
Stick in the mud, though.
That is definitely.
Look how Portal went. Look how Half-Life went, Nintendo. Can we get a Zelda movie?
That would
you never
be.
know. That's it.
Oh, just don't make him too pretty. Come on, I mean, Link is too pretty. I have a problem with Link.
Can't hate on Link. That's like illegal, I think.
I know. That's what makes it so wrong.
I will admit that I find Link strangely and disturbingly attractive sometimes.
Adult Link, not the Link.
Yes, adult Link, not the child Link. Thank you for clarifying. Adult Link, adult grown-up Link. So thank you very much for that, Jeremy. I was gonna get a whole bunch of like hate comments of like you're crazy, dude. I forgot. In some games he's a youth. Like I'm more used to the later games like that have been out recently where he's the adult. So.
Other news from Xbox Live digital games. Sharing's a possibility. Possibility. That's a key word right now.
Sharing the digital games.
Which is interesting because when Xbox originally came out, they didn't want you sharing hard copies.
Yeah. I think, this might be another... I think you're onto something in that, I don't know if this is Microsoft's last console generation, but I know that they are currently... They're trying to focus on getting people back into Windows. They're losing a lot of ground in the PC space to... companies are adopting OS X, en masse, and so they're definitely losing market share there. People who are using Macs more in the office are finding out how easy they are to use and how less abrupt and jarring the different releases are from each other. Unlike the last couple Windows 10, Windows 7 to Windows 8 to Windows 10 jumps were pretty jarring. So I think
with Windows 10.
yeah. So I think Microsoft is clearly not focusing exclusively on the Xbox One anymore. They're focusing more on their brand, I think. Their Windows brand, of which Xbox One is a part of it. The interface on the Xbox One uses the same browser that Windows 10 uses and uses a very similar interface to what Windows 10 uses. So I think their focus right now is on, trying to enforce that brand across various different devices. And I do think that's going to kind of, well, not gonna, it has cheapened the experience on the Xbox One because it's not like a focus for them. They're not laser focused on making sure that is successful as an independent product as much as they are focusing on making sure that integrates well enough with Windows 10 to where they can encourage people that own Xbox Ones to buy Windows 10, and they can encourage people that have Windows 10 to consider an Xbox One instead of a PlayStation 4. So
Xbox One, but they're going. It's like I don't know if I want one now. Are they going to stick to their guns, or they're going to leave the Xbox One hanging at the end?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's going to depend on how different initiatives on the Xbox One pan out. If the sales continue going in the direction that they're going, and different initiatives like cross gaming and things like that, it almost feels like some of the stuff that they're trying to do, backward compatibility, allowing game sharing, these seem to me like no, please don't go moves, not hey, come check out our platform. Yeah. So I think at this point they're really just trying to keep who they currently have. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, almost like Nintendo's doing with just keep picking out AAA titles until the NX comes out, and don't completely drop the Wii U folks, but at the same time don't make any efforts to get back publishers and developers because we'll get them in the next go around. Microsoft, maybe there's not a next go around. I don't know. It's pretty for Nintendo. The Wii U's been out, I think, 2 years ahead of the Xbox One, right? Mm-hmm. So for them to go into another generation, early is arguably a little bit early, but not as early as say Microsoft having to consider the same thing. Microsoft, the Xbox One just came out 2 years ago. They can't be refreshing.
No, you can't be coming out with another console already. You have to.
Exactly.
You have to write it out. Nintendo's rid their stuff out with Wii and Wii U. Microsoft's turn to write it out.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what they're doing right now. They're just trying to say, look, please, we got reasons for you to stay. Don't go. If it's an online game thing or if it's a DLC game thing, we can offer you something if you stick around that you won't get on the other platform, right? If you
sure, pretty has more money, but I'm more loyal. That's what Xbox is saying right now.
Yeah.
That's how it feels.
And so I think they did listen. It was pretty clear when they announced, when they first announced Xbox pre-launch, and they talked about, like you said, you can't even share any of this stuff. It sound
positive too. That's the amazing thing about
it. Yeah, I was like, who did you make this console for?
Am I the only one hearing this wrong? I'm going to forums yeah, people are pissed.
Right. Buy our console where it always has to be connected to the internet, and you can't share your games. Isn't this wonderful?
Speaking of the internet and always connected, there's also an issue with that.
Yeah.
The Hitman game, the first episode, which requires you to be online to save and load. Well, what happens when a game first releases? The service crash.
Now, that was an interesting choice, that you have to be online to save and load your game.
Mind, this is Hitman, a single-player game, too. This isn't your Call of Duty, your Battlefield.
Yeah.
They went the way of what Sin City went, and people are pissed.
Yeah. Now, I think the intentions for that were probably good. Probably what they were thinking was, I imagine, I don't have the game and stuff, but the only reason that I could think that you'd have like an online required save and load dynamic is if the saves are in the cloud, right?
Yeah.
Now, that is kind of cool. Like, because I've had to actually replace a console, like a PlayStation 3, and, you know, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One both now are basically like, you have, even if you buy the disc just installs to the hard drive, and then you play off the hard drive. So if that hard drive dies, you kind of lost all your crap, right? But if you have PlayStation Plus, you can upload to the cloud. I think what they might have done is something where, like, no PlayStation Plus required. You can save to the cloud, play off the hard drive, create an account with them. If it dies, you kind of lost all. Oh my goodness, what happened there? I hear myself in stereo.
Who knows?
Do I really sound like that?
Yes, you sound beautiful.
All right, you may come on the show again next week, Jeremy. So yeah, I think that, you know, if they're trying to do like some kind of cloud saving thing or whatever, I mean that might be a legitimate reason to require an always-on connection, but still, like, if you're not expecting it because it's a single-player experience, I would be pissed, and I think the people who are ticked off are rightfully ticked off for a single-player game needing to be connected in order for you to save or start your game.
Because the classic things happen. What happens when the servers go dark? That's indeed useless.
Yeah. Yeah, and we talked about before, in some cases, right, you can't always anticipate demand and that kind of thing. You can do the back-of-the-envelope calculations, but then the real world steps in and things happen. So, Ms. Hedgehog, what would you do if Sonic at the Olympics released on Friday and you picked it up and you couldn't load or save your game because you had to be online?
Oh, I think I'd be more annoyed, but only because I'm so used to the games not needing that. I think I'd be more annoyed because then you go, okay, well, what the hell was the point in this? I spent this much money on the game.
$65 should not load.
Yeah, because then you're like, okay, Sega, I'm supporting you, especially now because you need us.
Yeah.
And this game sucks. I would be annoyed because then I'd be like, well, you're not going to recommend it to people because you say, well, I'm sorry, you got to be on the internet. And don't try to do some stupid thing where you're on your 3DS and you go to a McDonald's because that McDonald's is going to have Wi-Fi. You know, it's like, why? Why do you need the internet? We didn't need the internet 20 years ago to play our games.
Absolutely. We did not need release day patches.
Because that's what happened to Street Fighter.
But speaking of release days and things like that, there's some upcoming releases and some upcoming sales with regards to Sonic. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to tell us a bit about those?
Yes. Amazon this Friday told me that I will get my Mario and Sonic at the Rio Olympics for the 3DS. So it comes out this week.
Very nice.
Happy.
So,
Indeed.
there were some sales that are going on too, right?
Yes, but from what it looks like so far, it's in Japan and the UK. They're starting to sell Sonic merchandise because they've already said they're working on clothes like T-shirts, pants, and things like that. I haven't seen everything. I know I've seen patches from the UK, but nothing for America yet. Just everything's overseas right now. But, you know, once they get everything ready, they'll start to send it over here. I know in Canada, there's a toy company that is releasing 2 classic plushies, Classic Sonic and Classic Tails. But apparently that's only for Canada. Tommy Toys, who has the exclusive rights for the Sonic merchandise, like this cutie, hasn't said anything. But later this year, they are releasing a bunch of Sonic Boom toys and classic Sonic toys. So I'm suspicious that whatever this 25th anniversary Sonic game is going to be is probably going to be classic Sonic related.
So are you going to Canada for these 2 plushies?
Yes, I have friends, and they already know. They already know.
Here has it lined up.
They're like, okay, we know people. We'll see what we can do for you because we know you will get mad. I will always get my Sonic somehow.
She'll find a way.
The moment
I'll
she's
find them.
on the phone, you got me? All right, thanks.
She will find. In terms of I will get my hands on. I actually after the Nintendo Direct, I went out and immediately grabbed myself a Fox Amiibo. This is the Japanese version only because I'm not a stickler for whether it's the American version or the Japanese version. They're not, folks. For anybody that doesn't know, Amiibos are not region locked. So if American stock is kind of running low and the scalpers are having their way with prices, you can usually find the Japanese versions for a lot cheaper. I picked this up for $9 shipped.
Yes, I also have Little Mac, Japanese box too. Amazon had them, and I only had that for like about $12.
Yeah,
So yeah, and the shipping was free because I was kind of afraid, like, okay, I remember when they were first coming out, when they were that cheap from Japan. Wait till you click on the shipping. Nope, shipping was free. It was something that Amazon had, so
Yes.
that's good now. So no more of that crazy Amiibo garbage that's been going on lately. That everyone's buying 20 boxes of Pac-Man and selling them for $50 and $60 shipping. No more of that.
Yes, I agree. That was getting kind of ridiculous and out of hand. So it's good to see now that the supply is beefed up. And I guess that's another thing too that I think, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Nintendo is really the odd man out, right? You look at Microsoft. Microsoft has a lot of other, industries, right? They've got, or a lot of other products, I guess I should say. So if Microsoft, the Xbox division is not doing so well, they can probably prop it up with the Office and with the operating systems division, right? And then they also do things like branded keyboards, mice, software, all kinds of other things that they have their hands in, and game studios now that they actually own. So, I mean, I think Microsoft can find a way to kind of make the numbers match up toward positive cash flow if they really need to, even if entire divisions are not doing well. Nintendo, I look at Amiibo as kind of a way for Nintendo to branch out a bit. Like, I think they're smart enough to realize you only get so much mileage out of a game, even a good game, even a AAA game, and you only get so much mileage out of DLC because not everybody buys the DLC for the game. But people like to collect things, especially things that are tied to nostalgia. And bonus, we all used to, I know I really miss this, the last several generations. Cheat codes have kind of gone the way of the dodo bird, right? It used to be you had like debug menus and button combos and all this stuff that you could unlock Easter eggs in the games. And in the batches of games that have been coming out for the last 5, 10 years, they just haven't been as prevalent. You're really hard pressed to find too many non-PC games that actually still even have any kind of like cheating or debug type stuff left into it. But Nintendo gives you a flavor of that with things like Amiibos that unlock special functionality in their games. So in the case of Star Fox Zero, Fox will actually unlock the original R-Wing from the SNES version of the game. And along with that, you get the music and the sound effects and everything associated with it. So,
Speaking of Box,
yep.
heard the news about the novice mode. If you play novice mode, you're invincible.
I heard about that. So I'm not sure how I feel that now. I don't know. Like,
I don't like it.
Games have already been getting, I think, too easy.
Yeah.
But and now you can play it in a mode where like you're guaranteed not to die.
So I can decide if I want it or not.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, there's a difference between. Because I mean, let's be honest. Like most games already kind of have this, but you still have to work for it a bit, right? Like I would argue Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider are basically you're not invincible. Like you take damage and all that other stuff, but then you heal pretty darn quickly. So as long as you can get out of the line of fire and hide behind a rock long enough, you'll be fine, right? Mm-hmm. And even if you do die, you've got unlimited restarts and unlimited continues. So it's not like the games of Ninja Gaiden like way back, you know, in the 80s, where you get all the way to the end on one life, you die at the last boss, and then it sends you back like 3 levels previous. Right?
Oh.
I mean,
Well,
that was ridiculous hard. It's not like Ghouls and Ghosts, right? Where you have to beat the game twice, and the game is ridiculously hard. It's impossible to beat once, let alone twice. But you got to beat it twice to see the real ending.
That's true.
those were the best games, though.
So, oh yeah. I remember. How long did it take you, Miss Hedgehog, to get to the point where you could reliably and repeatedly collect every Chaos Emerald in a playthrough of Sonic the Hedgehog?
Let's see. Well, I learned quickly. I can beat a Sonic game in an hour, but see, I taught myself to be able to collect continues, extra lives, all that stuff, but never lose 1 life. So I can have 50 lives and 25 continues, and I beat the whole game.
Nice.
That's always been me. I can do that. That took a lot of work though. So people don't think I just woke up and I did it. It's like no, that took a few
That's
practices.
years right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but nowadays, like, it seems like, you know, sometimes I really honestly feel like I just kind of like stumble through the game, right? Like, and you can kind of get away with that. So I don't know. Even that I can kind of like, since I'm older and I'm not as, I don't think I'm as agile. The TVs have more lag. Like, I'm wondering how much of it is you know, really the technology. There's quite a bit of lag in most people's displays. And I think part of the way that the gaming developers, you know, compensate for that is with looser controls, more forgiveness with like aiming and, you know, getting, shot at and things like that. So they have to figure out a way in the mechanics of the game to make up for the fact that the wireless controller introduces some lag with the input. So you got to let the input be a little sloppier than it used to be a little bit more forgiving. And then I think there's certainly, you know, what you see on the screen, and by the time you hit the button, it may not be what was actually going on. So I think the jumps have become easier, the attacking has become easier. In general, I think, you know, that's something different though than just saying like totally invincible. You take no damage whatsoever.
I don't know, cause see, like for example, I have Mario Kart. What was it? Mario Kart 8, whatever it was. Mario Kart 8, and I was playing online with a friend of mine who lives all the way in Washington. It was just me and her, and then she, you know, last minute, her friend said, "Well, can we play too? We want to play too," and so it was 4 of us. That game lagged so badly. I mean, every time I would start to drive, I would like, it would just like flicker for a moment, and then like it wouldn't do anything. And then like they kept winning, and I was like, okay, I thought it was just gonna be you and me. I don't know if it's because it was 4 players, but when it was just her and I, the game went smooth. And I think it also has to do with like your internet connections, because some people have a really fast internet connection, and unfortunately, those are the people I hate to play with, which is why I don't play online, because they'll be major jerks. They will kill you, throw bombs at you, everything, and it's because they have a faster connection, and some people don't have connections that fast. I think that's probably one big problem.
And I think that is a challenge, right? Like, how do you make? I remember reading back before multiplayer gaming had hit consoles and everything. Back when multiplayer gaming was predominantly a PC thing. I remember the makers of games like Heretic and Hexen. These were like spin-offs of the Doom franchises and stuff. I remember them talking about how the difference between Doom and Heretic and Hexen is Heretic and Hexen was kind of like a Doom game, only it was in medieval times and you use magic.
Mm-hmm.
And so they wanted to be able to do these things like, you know, shoot lightning bolts and do all this stuff, things that would require like lots of effects and lots of, you know, objects on the screen. And one of the things that they said was that, you know, they'd have these really fantastic ideas for weapons and attacks and all this other stuff, and then they'd find out we can't implement that because as awesome as it is in the single player,
Mm-hmm.
2 shots from that weapon in multiplayer will bring the whole game to a grinding halt.
Oh, I remember there was a game a while back that did that kept like walking up, freezing, and people were just angry, like, I don't want to play this anymore.
Yeah, just about every multiplayer game ever released, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing: if it's 2 players, you're good, cause I always play with my best friend Adam, I play with him, and he and I can make perfectly fine on with Mario Kart 8 or Super Smash Brothers. Only if it's 2 players. I can't go beyond 2 players.
Yeah, I think that's a common problem. So my hats are off to any company that's able to make the massively multiplayer games, work. I think it depends on the nature of the game too. I think if you're playing a racing game, or if you're playing a fighting game, or a like a first-person shooter, it's got to be incredibly difficult to make those games scale to like many players. If you're playing a game like click the mouse to walk from here to here and click this menu thing to attack some guy, and it's more like turn-based, I think you get probably a lot more forgiveness. There might be some lag and it might skip some frames, but like you still set the guy on fire, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot different than you're trying to aim at somebody. You've got a thumbstick already, so it's not as precise as a mouse. And then you miss a couple frames. That's the difference between a headshot and you clean missing the guy and getting taken out yourself.
Yeah, get stabbed in the chest.
Yes.
That was a major glitch, man. You stabbed me right in the throat. You were supposed to stab me in the chest.
So this is going to be interesting, though, to see, because I'm glad you brought that up, because I wonder how Microsoft is gonna handle this cross-platform gaming, right?
I don't know, because they would have to give Sony more control, because Sony's not gonna let them touch their stuff.
Right.
Just like that. They're gonna have to make some kind of agreement, like, okay, well, Sony, you have to let us touch your games. Well, you have to let us touch your stuff too, because you're not gonna touch us without us touching you.
Hey now, right? I don't know how those backroom deals are gonna be made, but you're absolutely right, I think. And one of the things that's going to be interesting is, how does Microsoft get any kind of assurances that Sony's not going to be like, they get the separate but equal switch, right? Like, here's the network switch for everybody that comes in from PlayStation 4 land, and guess what? This busted, crusty thing over here that we found in the dumpster, we think it still works. That's where all your traffic's going to go, Microsoft. Like, I could see that happening, right? Because what's Sony got to lose on that? Like, oh, hey.
Keep our fans happy, and who cares if the Xbox fans are pissed?
Exactly. Oh, Xbox One players on the PlayStation Network, your experience sucks. We'll buy a PlayStation 4. There's your fix.
Yeah. I mean, what would happen if that happened if every time Xbox One players try to log on to play with their friends and go, oh, sorry, there's a little problem here.
Yeah.
We forgot to tell you, but you need to buy.
It's not our servers, it's Microsoft's side doing it. It's just so you know.
Although, and I'll just throw this one out there because I wish Cliff was on here, because it'd be interesting to get his take on this. But I wonder if Nintendo was. You mentioned, Jeremy. What if this is, or not Nintendo, Microsoft. You mentioned, what if this is Microsoft's last console generation? If it is, what if this multiplayer with other consoles was the first step toward trying to transition people over to another platform?
Interesting theory. I can almost see it, though. It's just like, well, let's get these guys used to the PlayStation, or
Yeah. So, hey guys, stick with us, and if you stick with us long enough, eventually we can get you all moved over to the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, there you go. But to be honest, in my part with Microsoft and the Xbox, I just don't like them, because Xbox seems to control a lot of the gaming charities lately. I'm not sure if you noticed, like not Special Effect and not Able Gamers, because those are great charities that actually make controllers for, like, special kids with like special needs who can't use their hands.
Mm-hmm.
They help them make special controllers with what they can do, and I think that's great. But Xbox is included in a lot of charities, like I'm trying to think what the name was. There's a gaming charity that Children's Miracle Network is part of, and I actually tried to be part of the charity, and they actually work with the Children's Miracle Network Hospital, Texas Children's Hospital, which is where I had my brain tumor surgery. And I was really looking forward to being part of that gaming charity, sharing my brain tumor story, because they were supporting the hospital where I had my surgery. Mm-hmm. So it made perfect sense, right? And it was a video game charity. Come on, I could play my Sonic games. I could do all that. It just sounded perfect.
Yeah.
But they didn't want me there. They spit on my brain tumor story, and since it was run by mostly guys, they did everything they could to kick me out, to chase me off, because it was all Xbox gamers. So that's why I fucking hate the Xbox.
Wow.
Mostly for that reason, because yeah, they control the gaming charities. So when people like me, who are from like the Nintendo era and the Sega era, and we have disabilities or we have our reasons why we want to be involved in these gaming charities, we're told, oh, no, thank you, but you have to be a stupid Xbox gamer. I'm sorry, Xbox. I hope you crash and burn because you deserve it.
Oh, folks.
Never heard, not us.
Yes, you heard it. So Miss Hedgehog, Microsoft brings Miss Hedgehog to the F-bomb. That happens. The only other thing, by the way, she never says that. The only other thing that makes her say that is the chance that a Sonic game, may not release on time. So you gotta. I'm just saying, like, they gotta be doing something, right? So,
no.
But speaking of like retro stuff though, right? Retro stuff that like you kind of like write it off and all that, and then it just kind of comes back and you're like, hello. Warcraft 3, did you guys hear? Warcraft 3 is getting a new patch next week.
After, what, 4 years?
4 years.
I give them credit. They stick together, I guess.
That's pretty hardcore. Like, I didn't even know, like, people still played Warcraft 3.
I know when I saw the news, I was like, damn.
So, hey, I salute you. Blizzard, right? Blizzard still runs that, I believe.
I believe they do.
I salute you. So at one point, my dad used to work for Vivendi, and Vivendi Universal, owned like Blizzard and all these other things, and so I used to get Blizzard games for like $20, like any Blizzard game for $10 or $20. It was awesome. But
oh shoot, that reminds me about the Xbox and Sony thing. Someone brought this up, but it was kind of funny. They said, now imagine if Sega and Nintendo had been able to do that.
Had been able to do which?
The Sony and Xbox game crossing thing.
Well, that would have happened back in the day. There's no way they could have done that.
Oh man!
But I mean, if they could have, how funny would that have been? Like,
that was a vicious war back in the day.
Oh yeah, that was definitely. Well, there's originally like I think the closest it got. Right, and I think this is, something that Sega I don't think gets enough credit for, is that I think a lot of people see Nintendo as the innovator, but Nintendo is really conservative. Like they won't launch something unless they can pretty much guarantee. Like they must have some like Heisenberg device or something, where they can see into like possible futures, and they know. Except for, the device was clearly unplugged when they released the Virtual Boy. But for everything else, I mean, they pretty much nailed the market, right? Like, and so they either launch and they're mega, successful, at least among their fans, or they don't launch at all. Again, the only exception really being the Virtual Boy. I mean, some would say the Wii U, but I still say there are plenty of Nintendo fanboys, right? I'm one of them, that is totally willing to own and be part of the Wii U generation, knowing it's not going to go much farther than the Nintendo circle of releases.
I mean, I just started, and I knew there would be 2 more games coming out.
Yeah. So, and I've been getting more mileage out of my Wii U than I have out of the PlayStation 4. But that's more of a how the form factor worked out. For me, since my son mainly plays it, and I've got a smaller hard drive, all of his games are installed on the PlayStation 4. And if I want to play one of my games, I have to pick, like, am I going to uninstall Little Big Planet or Lego or, like, I have to choose, like, which of my son's dreams I want to crush.
The cloud, then bring it back down.
What's that?
He always upload his saves to the cloud.
Oh, yeah, well, the saves will be there, right? But here's the problem, right? With some of these games literally take, like, 20 minutes to install off the disc.
That's a good one too. I was trying to get the Division beta. It said 2 days, and then I read, oh, it's only for 2 days. I was like, I'm not gonna bother with this stupid thing.
Right. Like, forget it. So I'm kind of the same way. Like, I've got a big backlog of PlayStation 4 games that I want to play, but I don't want to delete games that him and my wife are playing. So I'm like, screw it. I'll just keep playing Xbox. I'll keep playing 3DS. I'll keep playing Wii U.
But
And
at
at
least
some
you
point,
buy a bigger hard drive. That's the thing, though.
I do. I need to get. I've got the 500 gigabyte one. I need to pop for like a 2 terabyte one and just put it in there. But the thing is, like, I'm already like $600 into the console.
Oh, wow.
Right.
I
Like
just for
the console plus the extra controllers, all this stuff. It's like, how much more do I need to put into it just so I can play one game?
What's that, the PS4?
Yeah, the PS4.
See, that's where they get you.
Yeah.
That's the downside. That's why I kind of always favor more Nintendo. Because it's like, you get this, and then you're like, wait a minute, I have to do what now?
Right. So I tend to do this. I kind of went off like mega tangent, right? But my initial point, I guess, was that it's easy to forget that Sega was the one I feel like was doing most of the innovation from the 16-bit to the 64-bit eras, right? They really tried a lot of things. They tried Sega CD, they tried 32X, they tried Saturn, and then they had all kinds of other peripherals and stuff that they experimented with the activator and things like that. And it's easy to forget that Sega did all that stuff. The lock-on technology, right? Sega was the first time we saw a game that you could put another game onto it to make it a different game, right? That was really like Sega beat everyone else to the punch with DLC on a console, right? That was basically your DLC right there. And then the Sega Channel. I don't know if anybody here remembers the Sega.
Yeah, I never could get it because my dad was like, no, like I don't know how long you would be on there because you got school.
Right, but I mean, how mind-blowing, right? Like at the time, I remember reading that in a magazine and going, wow, I could download a game onto my Genesis. I didn't have a Genesis, but if I had one, right, and I had the Sega Channel, I could download a game onto my Sega Genesis, and you could always, you'd never run out of games. I mean, that was kind of the promise. But Sega, I think, was so innovative that a lot of their ideas just hit way too early. So I think a lot of times people kind of crap on them, especially because they bailed out of the console wars before Nintendo or anybody else, right? And Nintendo and the others are still going strong. But I think Sega, realized it takes more than good ideas and early execution to be successful. And what it took, they frankly didn't have. For every good idea they had, they just weren't able to give it the momentum that it needed to, live out a healthy life.
Yeah, well, they always keep trying, and I think people are just way too ugly with Sega. It's like, well, you know what? At least they keep trying. They come up with something new. They try something new. You've had the Genesis, the CD, the Saturn, the Sega 2, the Dreamcast. You've had the Game Gears. They keep trying. Now they're looking at mobile games, and fans are throwing up at it. And you're like, well, you know what? You fans can't get mad because you're mad because it's not Dreamcast 2. Now that failed. So that wasn't even Sega's thing. So, if you fans want another console, I don't really see Sega doing that at all. Sega is going to be licensing their games to Nintendo and then to PS4. I don't think Xbox, because if Xbox is doing so badly, Sega should be smart enough to say, you know what, we'll probably focus just on Nintendo and PS4, and the 3DS is what they're probably going to do, and mobile games too. But fans need to accept that because Sega has their reasons. I don't want them to go like the other company and do only pinball machines. Definitely not. But, fans need to accept that, Sega's trying. They had a lot of ideas. But if these things aren't working the way they wanted to, then, respect them with what they decide. Whether it be, only mobile games, mobile to PC, or Nintendo, just respect them enough to say, okay, well, Sega, you're breaking my heart, but if this is what you decide, then go ahead, just let them be. Because we don't know what's going to happen to Nintendo in a few years.
Speaking of not knowing what's going to happen, folks, I think I alluded earlier to an unboxing. And I believe that myself and maybe Jeremy are the only ones that know what this is. So Miss Hedgehog, do you want to close out our show with your latest goodies?
Sure.
Make sure you look on her dash stuff.
Yeah. I got something pretty cool on Saturday. I forgot that I had this, but I got it. Go away, box.
They're always huge, right? Like,
Yeah.
here I am, like, excited about, like, a Fox Amiibo, and she's got, like, this 3-story tall shrine to, you know, all things Sega.
Yes. Sega knows how much I love them. And I won't leave them. But this beauty is...
That's cool.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to give you the floor right now.
Okay, so this is Supersonic Modern Edition, exclusive edition. If I'm correct, this sucker lights up in the dark.
Really?
Yes.
Are batteries included?
I don't know, but I have some there in case. So I have product number 132. Only 600 were made.
Oh, wow.
So that should tell you something.
Yeah.
This was very special edition.
So was this? You don't have to give us the exact number, but did this cost more or less than the Tornado?
Less.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm surprised that lights up. I mean, you know, things like that you would expect.
My goodness. Pardon me, folks.
Let me get. Let's see. It's got the little where you have to like register it online for exclusive specials. You know, in case it falls or drops or something. I think.
Ah, okay.
But let's see. They do cover it very well, though. It's just finding where the glue thing is.
Oh, they glued it shut, or is that?
No. Oh no, I mean that tape stuff. Not even mad if they glued it. Remember that? Okay, there's this in there. Holy cow.
Oh.
Uh-oh, it froze up. Oh, there we go. It froze for a little bit, but now we're back.
Oh, that's his head.
Oh my goodness, it's a head. They shipped you a decapitated Sonic. The humanity.
What kind of material is it made of?
Huh?
What kind of material is it made of?
What's it made of?
Yes, like, is it a metal, a heavy plastic, a rubber?
A very heavy plastic. Ah, your head's off.
Oh my goodness. Medic.
Oh no, let's see. Here's a hand.
So he's got a platform that he stands on, right?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't note it. His hands they attached separately?
Yeah, you have to like put everything together. See this cool looking thing?
Oh, that's neat.
So yes, it does require putting batteries in. Which is AA. So I'm gonna grab some right here. Hold on.
So, Jeremy, like, we gotta do something to up our game. I feel like...
Oh, only I've ever unboxed so far was an SP.
I know, right? Like, I was excited to get a Lara Croft, you know, statue and a Fox Amiibo.
I might have a new item next week, depending on the sell goes through or not.
Oh, you're gonna have an item to unbox next week, Jeremy?
That buys it for my item.
Let's see. I'm curious how this is gonna work, but I'm sure it'll tell me. Cause I have to. Well, dang it, Sonic! You keep falling apart on me.
Man, his head keeps falling off.
Yeah, but that's how heavy it is.
Running around like a Supersonic with your head cut off.
Oh, let's see. Okay, that stayed on. I was about to cry. Fell off me. These are like his hands, so like you have to like put them in place or something. Let's see. Where's the square? Okay, so if I'm correct, he lays like this, and I believe there's a button at the bottom. Okay, that's not right. Where are you? Where's that thing? Oh, here we are.
All right, folks, we're gonna take a pool. How long before she reads the instructions?
I don't read it. There's no instructions with it.
Oh, there weren't. You know, that always frustrates me when something that's like, apparently it was so obvious to them it doesn't require instructions. I'll be damned if I can figure it out.
Well, the worst is put port A1 to port. This could be a long thing.
Well, I mean,
Or it's like one of those connect rod A1 to rod 1B.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's all like the
same, and it's like, oh no.
I see.
All right, folks. Will she figure it out?
Yes, because I'm looking at the small edges.
Find out.
Come on, son.
Does the picture on the box yield any clues?
No, there we go. Now put your head on.
Especially it doesn't lock in.
Does it lock in place?
Yes.
Ah, okay, there we go.
Now to see. Hold on. I'm gonna turn on the lights.
Ooh, she's gonna turn out the lights now. Ooh.
Man, that is awesome. Okay.
How are you gonna sleep with that thing on?
I don't know, but it moves. I'm sure I can turn it off.
That is pretty cool.
Yes, it should play. And that's basically what it is. There's just a with it. So that's pretty awesome. Where did the button just run off? Okay. So that's my Supersonic.
Very nice.
But it's modern. I need to get the I want to get the classics one.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Free stuff.
You're welcome. I think I'll put them over here for now.
All right, folks, we're just about out of time here. I did want to make sure to mention Bravely Second, the demo released last week. If you have not downloaded this demo and checked it out, you're really missing out. Anybody that's a fan of Final Fantasy, Bravely Second is the sequel to the excellent Bravely Default. Both are made by Square, and both are like a love letter to the Final Fantasy series. So, unfortunately, most people don't know. A lot of people don't know about Bravely Default because it's not named Final Fantasy. That's really the only problem with it. But if you're a fan of turn-based strategy games, like from the original NES and SNES era, but you want to see that kind of gameplay with modern-day voice acting and 3D graphics, Bravely Second and Bravely Default are awesome. Both have demos on the eShop for the 3DS, so you should definitely check them out. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show.
I got one more news item real quick.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Fallout 4 Amatron DLC next week, March 2nd, versus the Fallout DLC.
All right, one more time. We had some noise there.
So Fallout 4, the first of its DLC is called the Animatron DLC. It was March 22nd, and I will be getting it.
Awesome. All right, folks, this has been Retro Reload. We thank you for showing up. Hopefully, T. Pugmire have learned their lesson about placing bets against Jeremy, and that permitting, we might let them back on the show next week. Maybe. So until then,
good night.
Catch you later.
Bye.